What's up, guys? It's Ben with 2020 election predictions, and today I'm going to do a video on the betting odds for the elections. I think it's very interesting to look at the betting odds. I've done a video explaining why I think the betting odds are a better indicator of where the race is than the average aggregate of the polls. In the past, typically, the betting markets have been very accurate. 2016 is the only outlier. But the polls and the betting odds were both wrong. And I think that the betting odds were so wrong because of the polls. And the betting odds were actually a lot closer, in fact, than a lot of models had it. Like the Princeton model and the New York Times model had Hillary Clinton 95% plus chance of winnings. But as I'll look at later, the betting odds didn't have that as high. And one thing I just wanted to say, we have 4 days until my June 10th giveaway. I really want to get to 500 subscribers. I really want to do my giveaway and give away $125. We're almost there, so please keep on chugging away. Share with your friends and family, and just do whatever it takes to get to 500 subscribers. So just looking right in, I'll move this to the other side briefly. But Trump in the predicted election has been ahead, although in kind of the predicted averages of each state, Trump hasn't been winning in the Electoral College just based on where people are putting their money is. Trump, I think last time we were looking at this, was 50 or 51 cents, while Biden was a lot lower. This has flipped, obviously. It's still very, very close, a lot closer than it was in 2016, and I'll kind of compare those two later. So it's very neck and neck. And before any of the elections, I was actually looking at this. This is the closest it's been in terms of the betting odds. And I'll look at the Real Clear Politics. This is kind of a different way of looking at it. The betting odds on Real Clear Politics, which takes an average of a lot of betting websites, is going to be a lot more accurate than Predicted for several reasons. But I like kind of the outlay of the electoral map of Predicted. So if we look here, ever since the betting market kind of opened, this is the max. Trump has been ahead except briefly in March. Even throughout the whole coronavirus pandemic, even though Trump's poll numbers have been sliding down a little bit, still, the people who are betting on these websites, who I assume are pretty good political scientists, they think they know a lot about politics, they're willing to put their money where their mouth is, are the ones that had Donald Trump ahead over 50% chance odds. Recently, this has changed, and on the day that it changed was June 1st. And I think one reason why this flipped is because of the George Floyd protests and Donald Trump's response to that. And I think that these odds are definitely going to flip. This is just a little blip. And why they haven't dramatically, why Joe Biden's odds haven't dramatically increased, I just think is representative because the news cycle is constantly changing. But I don't think people should invest a whole lot into this. Obviously, where Trump was like just a few weeks ago was higher than Joe Biden's odds right now, and we see them coming back down right now. So I don't think people should just totally freak out about this. I don't think Trump's supporters should completely just like freak out, and I don't think Biden supporters should just like clinch on this and be like, look, we're going to win in the 2020 election. Obviously, there's a lot that goes into this, and a lot of articles even think that people are underestimating Joe Biden's ability to be strong. But then, like if you read CNN, it basically seems like that the election is already done and Joe Biden is going to win. But I think just looking at these election odds just shows how close the election is. A lot of polls recently have Joe Biden ahead, but I think we should more look at the election odds. And I think this is going to flip a lot, just to a representation of how close this election is going to be. One interesting thing that I like about this Predicted website, this graphic right here, I think is just great. They're putting us election YouTube channels out of business because people can just do this on their own. But I would encourage you to check this out. The two states that have flipped are North Carolina and Florida. Let's just click on Florida for a quick second. My internet is not great because I'm not in town right now. But North Carolina and Florida were both red before. I think we'll see. I hope I just didn't ruin my graphic. In fact, I will probably just go back. Okay. So actually, just as I was talking, the Republican went back up. I don't know if it'll reflect it now, or at least it says that its asking price is more expensive. But if we see over the 30 days, Republicans represented by Donald Trump has been ahead. But recently, with the whole electoral college map, it's changed too, and North Carolina's too. So let's see when we go back what it's going to say. If we can finally get it to load. Okay, so it still has the Democratic ahead, but I'm sure this will change. So North Carolina and Florida are basically neck and neck in terms of the betting markets. Arizona and Wisconsin are a little bit the Democrat Joe Biden is a little bit more ahead. But what I think is interesting, if we look up the solidly blue states and then the likely blue states, and then we leave these as toss-ups, and let's just say that people are overestimating Joe Biden's chance of winning, then this is a complete tie. I think if we actually added up all the electoral things, this would be 268, 216 plus 52. And then if we do the sum of 125, 45, 34, 66, and I'm just giving these 66 electoral bumps to Donald Trump just for the sake of this argument, then is a 268, 270 victory for Donald Trump. And this is what I estimated in my last video. I'm going to do a new video just with some tweaks because since I made my video, I think some things have changed. But I just wanted to show you that, like, why I think that my prediction just last week is a pretty accurate prediction at this point. And I think a lot of people would agree with that, even if they do think I'm overestimating Donald Trump's chances. However, one thing I do kind of disagree with, I think that, like, Georgia and Ohio are a lot more solidly for Donald Trump than are Wisconsin and Arizona for Joe Biden. And the reason why I say this is just because how much that Donald Trump won Ohio by in 2016. He won it by around between 8 and 9 points. And same with Georgia. I don't think Georgia is significantly going to flip to Joe Biden. But I really think that Wisconsin, Arizona, and even Florida are going to be pure toss-ups. And so I think the political winds will change, and we'll see these going back and forth on the Predictit website. But right now, just to conclude, last thing that I wanted to say is in 2016, I just think it's pretty interesting. So Hillary Clinton was up a lot, and I want to translate these. So early on in like August of 2019, her odds were still a little bit above 50%. On February 1st, 2016, they were even. But as you can see, just going on as the election kept on going in 2016, I'm going to translate these odds. So on October 2016, this was after Access Hollywood. Obviously, Donald Trump said those pretty crude comments. But this was before James Comey implicated Hillary Clinton and investigated her emails again. So if we translate this into percentage lines, so this would be like over an 80% chance that Hillary Clinton would win, according to the betting odds. And then after that James Comey thing came out, it was about negative 275. So it was a little bit under of a 75% chance. Right now, the betting odds, as exemplified for here, are, Joe Biden and Donald Trump are both under 50% chance. So Donald Trump is outperforming the betting markets in 2020 than he did in 2016, which frankly isn't surprising to me because I think a lot of people, you can argue if they're overcompensating or not, but they're compensating at least a little bit for the 2016 because they saw that the polls were so wrong, and they're not going to underestimate Donald Trump again. Donald Trump, throughout his presidency, has been Teflon politically. He's demonstrated this. The Democrats have tried to hit him like with all these different things, like the Charlottesville impeachment, the Kavanaugh hearings, Ukraine, Russia collusion, coronavirus. now with these George Floyd protests, I honestly think that these George Floyd protests are going to hurt Trump more than any of the other things during his presidency. But still, Trump has demonstrated that he can overcome these things. Maybe he can change the dialogue again. We still really don't know. And lastly, I just wanted to compare this map right here. We see 334 to 204. Very similar to the 2012 outcome, although I don't think this predicted map is like is going to be how exactly it's going to turn out. I'm predicting North Carolina and Florida both to go to Donald Trump at least, if not Arizona and Wisconsin. But they're pretty similar. Obviously, the only changes are Iowa and Ohio would go to Joe Biden in the predicted prediction, and North Carolina and Arizona would go to Joe Biden, and these would go to Donald Trump. So they're flipped, but their electoral votes are pretty similar. And last thing before I leave, I know I've been hyping that up a lot. In 2016, the 538 forecast had Donald Trump with a 28.6% chance of winning, and he won. And the forecast that I've seen closest to the 538 forecast has Donald Trump as a 32.4% chance. And this isn't to say that Donald Trump's going to win because he has a better chance of winning now, but they're pretty similar. So I do think right now Donald Trump might be the slight underdog. I don't know how accurate these forecasts are. I would want to do some of that research myself. But obviously, a chance of an upset is still about the odds of an MLB batter getting on base, and that is pretty common. And I'm not going to put all my marbles into here. I haven't put any money on the election, but as I conclude this video, I would encourage you to put in the comments who are you going to put money on this election, if you put money on at all. And are you going to take other bets? I would encourage you to go to the Predict It website and just look at all the different bets you can make. And maybe you can convince me to put my money on a candidate. I really am still a little skeptical about putting money on anyone. But I will be sure to tell you if I do. And I'll make a video about that too. I think that'll be pretty interesting. So please subscribe if you haven't already. And be on the lookout for my video tomorrow. Thanks.